Well, hello there, and welcome back to Mr. E's Mysteries and Magics. Come on in. As always, we are sponsored by RP Magic Shop. Please check out the link to their website below. Free stuff. It's where illusion becomes reality. And, check them out, please. All right, so in this video, we have a Mr. E's Mysteries and Magics exclusive film at 11. Well, actually film right now, but irrelevant. I know all of you know a Charlier cut, and what I need to tell you about is a little bit of background. You see, years ago, in the days before there was anything called the interwebs, let alone Google and YouTube, where you can look up stuff and see how to do things, human beings used massive storage devices holding, giga and terabytes full of information called books. Now, books are something that have large numbers of pieces of paper in them, and one side of the piece of paper is attached so that it all kind of holds together and you can flip through them and look at stuff. Each piece of paper has two sides, and each side is known as a page. Each of those pages has words on it, and a lot of times diagrams. And in the olden days, before there were such things as social media, that's how people learned magical stuff. Ooh. So you had to read a book. So one day I decided I was going to learn how to do a one-handed cut. So I looked up something called the Charlier cut. My first reaction was, if that's the Charlier cut, what is the Charlie cut? And is there something better called the Charliest cut? I never did find an answer to that question. Moving on. I sat there, and of course we all know the Charlier cut is like this. Very simple, straightforward. Pretty much nothing to it once you get used to it. It's an easy maneuver to do. So I opened up the book and I started to read how to do that Charlier cut. Except that what I ended up with was this. And that, my friends, is not a Charlier cut. Many years later, I discovered that that was called a reverse Charlier cut. I never thought that I had come up with anything new and unique. I did come up with it originally myself, but I was sure right from the beginning that other people had come up with it a million times over, and they have. And it's called the reverse Charlier cut. I am not only going to teach you the reverse Charlier cut, I'm going to teach you not one, but two, yes, two ways to do a reverse Charlier cut. And that, my friends, is the exclusive content of Mr. E's Mysteries and Magic, just for you, my viewers, and especially my beloved subscribers. Thank you for being a subscriber, and thank you for being a viewer. And here we go. How to do the reverse Charlier cut two different ways. All right, so first of all, the biggest setup difference with the Charlier cut and the reverse is, the Charlier cut starts up at the top at the tips of the fingers. The reverse Charlier cut starts just the exact opposite, deep inside your hand, like this. It's not at the tip of the finger. You're going to be using your thumb for an important part of this, okay? So you're not going to have it like this. You're going to have it down in here, okay? Now, I put it so that the bottom of the deck, bottom edge of the deck is up against this part of my hand. I don't have particularly long fingers, but if you have longer fingers, you can put the deck down toward the middle of your hand more if that's more comfortable. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I've got the cards down like this. The first thing is, now I'm using my 4 fingers across here, pinky finger kind of to the side, a little bit of support to the side, and these 3 fingers across the far edge of the deck. I'm going to reach across toward those 3 fingers with my thumb. Okay, and I'm going to pull back up about half or so of the deck with my thumb. Pull it up like this. The index finger is now going to go underneath here like that. And it's going to lift the cards up just like that. The thumb drops down the packet that was on top, is now going to become the bottom. The index finger then pushes that pack back up into the thumb pad. At the same time, these 3 fingers are going to drop what was the bottom half of the deck on top. And you've done a one-handed reverse Charlier cut. Let me show that to you again so you get the idea. thumb across, lift, index finger under, thumb pushes down, index finger pushes back simultaneously. These cards come down on top. And again, these are the kinds of things that once you do them in speed, they're easier to control. When you do them slow to teach people, things get a little messy. But when you do it at speed, you can then put the cards together and square up the deck very neatly with one hand by using your 5 fingers and the pad of your thumb. Okay, so that's the first way to do the reverse Charlier cut. Here's the second way. This was taught to me by Johnny Blank, and it's a really nice way to do it too. I have no real preference for either way. The only thing that really is the difference is the positioning of these 2 fingers. The pinky finger and the ring finger are going to have a little bit different function in Johnny Blank's version than in mine. Okay, in mine they stay pretty much on top, but in Johnny Blank's version, starts out the same. The deck is in the same position. The first move is the same. In fact, all the moves are pretty much the same. It's just the position of these 2 fingers that makes a difference. You lift up the top of the deck with your thumb. Now, in this case, all 3 fingers, the index finger, the ring finger, and the pinky, are going to go underneath, and this finger is going to hold the top of this packet, okay? And you're going to lift it up like this. Almost looks like a forklift kind of thing. And then you do the same, drop the thumb, and then lift these back over. And again, at speed, it's easier to control, believe it or not. And then you can use your hand to square up the deck. Let me show that to you again one more time. Da-da, da-da, and da-da. Okay, then there you go. You can just square them up like that. That's it. That's Johnny Blank's version. My version uses just the index finger underneath. His uses 3 fingers underneath. They're both great ways to do the reverse Charlier cut. And they are really cool cuts to do in front of your friends and impress your friends with. The Charlier cut is pretty cool and quick. This is a little bit more visual. It's a little bit longer. And it's really, it takes a little bit more practice to do that with than the Charlier cut. But it's really a cool cut to use. Couple of tips to help you learn it. If you're just learning and maybe you're like me and you don't have the longest fingers in the world, try learning it with a bridge deck, okay, which is narrower, so it's easier to get the thumb over. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, when you're learning, trust me on this one, do it with a crappy deck, and do it with a deck you don't care about. Don't do it with a performance deck, because as sure as my name is Mr. E's Mysteries and Magics, you will bend up the corners of these cards practicing that until you get it down pat when you do that reverse Charlier cut. And you don't want to ruin your good performance cards. So keep that in mind when you're doing the practicing for the reverse Charlier cut. Leaves us with one last question, which is, Mr. E, how on earth did you get this out of that? Well, I have to tell you, I'm an idiot. I'm just really stupid. I'm just dumb as can be. That's number 1. Number 2, I was probably looking at the wrong diagrams for what I was reading in the description. And number 3, I gotta tell you, the whole thing just left me completely baffled.